Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve. Today I'm joined by Jeshields. Is that how you say it? I should have probably asked that before we started.
So Jeshields is my business name. James Shields is my name, but either works for me. And in fact, lots of people call me Jay. So um,
Nice.
yeah,
Well, Jay, I'm happy to have you on today. If you'd be so kind as to kind of tell people a little bit about you and what you do. And as always, folks, links are down in the description.
yeah. So I'm a freelance artist for the RPG community. I've been doing this since 2013, 2014 timeframe. From the very beginning, I wanted to provide a way, well, to be a help to independent publishers who couldn't necessarily afford high end art, but I still wanted to give them high quality. And I've done from the beginning. I tried to do it by keeping my rates low, but after a while, I realized you can't always do that, and so I began looking for other ways, and I've done that now through Patreon and through other crowd-funded projects like Kickstarter, to provide a stock of illustration that were fueled by the ideas of those independent publishers, to kind of bridge the gap between I got to pay all this money for a straight commission versus, oh, I'm stuck with what stock art I can find. And so I've been doing that now for 7-8 years, and I'm still doing that. In fact, my Patreon is still running, and I've got my stock art, my personal stock art site, jeshields.com, and feel like I'm getting to a place in my career where it's starting to really I'm getting the feedback that I was looking for from the very beginning, in the sense of, hey, what you're doing is really helping. And in fact, I've got one person who told me that they would not have been able to do what they're doing if it wasn't for what I've done for the independent small publisher.
It is definitely a help being able to tap into stock art as opposed to commissioning every single piece, especially if you're just getting started and you're not going to crowdfunding and hitting like huge goals. We were talking about it a little bit beforehand, is like high quality art is not cheap,
Mm-mm.
and for a small publisher to like be able to pull that out on their first projects is like impossible unless they start off independently wealthy.
Correct. And
So,
in
are
fact,
you able to do this full time, and do you almost exclusively cater to RPGs?
so yes, I'm doing this full time. It's not my only job, but it is what I do full time. And yes, it is pretty exclusively the RPG community. I realize that professionally, that's not the most lucrative industry to work in, but it's what I enjoy doing.
It's getting better. Like some of the things that have kind of been hindrances in the past are getting better. Like the rates are getting better for writers and artists, and the budgets are getting bigger, and also like the hobby has just been exploding and growing over the past, I want to say since like 2015 it really started ticking up. Probably having to do with both the launch of 5e and Critical Role.
Yes, I do agree that it's on the up, but the vast majority of companies are mom and pop shops,
Yeah.
doing out of their homes, and trying to break into an industry that they love, and so I realize that that's probably always gonna be there with this community, and so this is what I do for them.
Which is awesome. I mean, you provide a great service for folks that are getting started and want to do some, or even maybe for people who just want to commission art for their D&D group. Maybe they can just like buy bundles of stock art and be like, oh, and have something on hand to use.
Actually, something that's actually really cool. I think it's cool. Maybe some people might not, but is I've had people who have commissioned me to illustrate their character, and they're not looking to. All they're doing is trying to bring their idea to life, and
Yeah.
they're not trying to buy all rights or work for hire or anything like that. But what happens is that suddenly their character might actually wind up being used in a published for sale RPG product, and then they can see it their character come to life just beyond their own imagination. So
Super cool.
they're that cool. Yeah. So.
And you have a Kickstarter coming up in the near future.
I do. So I had mentioned that I felt like I was getting somewhere in my career as a freelance artist, and I kind of hit a milestone for me where I had another artist, a 3D artist, reach out to me and wanted to use. He was inspired by my illustrations and wanted to use them for ideas for what he modeled in 3D. And like I mentioned before the show, I originally thought that he was just trying to build up his portfolio, or was just wanting to do it for his own personal projects. And so I said yes. I've been very loose with all my licensing, even my stock art stuff. I'm not super picky about what you wind up doing with it. I have a few restrictions, but other than that, I've been very loose. And so when he asked me, yeah, sure, I don't mind that at all. And then later came back and talked about selling what he was creating, and I was like, okay, now we got to talk about what's fair. And we hashed out some percentages, and then I realized that he was trying to create a stock of stuff to sell, and I know that for the most part that doesn't work. You have to have so much out there and be seen by so much in order for that the effort you're putting out to come back to you. And so and as an artist who sells stock art, I understood that, and I didn't want what could have happened to me happen to him. And so I said, okay, no, don't get paid on the back end. You're going to be waiting decades for that to come in. And this is a perfect project for like a Kickstarter. And so I encouraged him to go that route. And I was just expecting him to run that, and then I get a percentage. But he came back and said that he couldn't, because based on where he was living, he was restricted from being able to run Kickstarter and pretty much any other crowdfunded project. And so then I took on the role of project manager. We rehashed a few of the technical side of things. And so now here we are, and we're about to launch. We're going to launch on November 18th, run through December 2nd. And what we are trying to do is create uncommon monstrosities, where they are creatures that are either unique or a different take on already established loved creatures. And the idea being that you're not going to find these monsters anywhere else. And so what happens with a lot of RPGs is you bring out a monster, everybody knows, oh, okay, they got this high attack, this is their weakness, and so lay it down on them so we can defeat this. Well, back in the day when D&D was first coming out, you'd have these creatures that you're facing for the first time. You have no clue what they are. They might be a gazebo, and so they're trying all sorts of different things, and that's what I love about the exploration side of role playing, is encountering something new that you don't know what it is you're going to face up against, or how to even interact with it, and go back to that experience.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get some new players and you get a little bit of that, but they quickly begin to learn, or, I find it's a little bit rare anyway for me to have a table full of new players, because usually there's like someone there that knows and will probably spoil it.
Yeah, it's like, use your fire attack, Yeah.
Although it was funny because when I did have it was like my wife and my son and my nephew and one of my son's friends playing, and they were all new to the game, and they fought a troll and it kept healing and they didn't know what to do. So they end up pushing it off a cliff, after they chop it up.
And as a game master, you love that sort of thing, because they think they're done, but you've got a villain that can come back and add more to that whole story of things. So
so so it is kind of cool from that standpoint. So there's links down in the description, and one of them is to the backer kit, which has more of a preview on it than the Kickstarter sign up page to follow the project, if you guys want to take a look. And you got some pretty cool stuff over there. There's the sculpts from the monsters that you illustrated.
Yeah. One of the things that we're also doing is we're offering some Kickstarter exclusive miniatures, meaning that the only place you're going to find them is Kickstarter. And if you want to grab a hold of one of the ones that we're going to release, we're going to release one of them to those who sign up for our newsletter to get notified when we launch. And also then beyond that, if you pledge within the first 48 hours, we're gonna unlock another one of those to those who hop in early. But we do have a pledge level that will get you all 5 of them if you don't even hear about this until later in the game and you still want them. So we're the project the initial goal is 20 monsters. We've committed to up to 100 if our stretch goals reach there. And we have several different pledge levels. Obviously, Kickstarter should all Kickstarter should have that. Our base pledge is for those 20 initial monsters, nothing extra, nothing beyond that. The second level is going to get you every single thing we unlock, plus every monster we create is going to have 2 variants, and that second pledge level is going to open up all those variants, all the unique detailed bases, and then I talked about the pledge level that include all the Kickstarter exclusives, but we also have a commercial bundle if you want to be able to print these and sell these, or beyond even that one, we have a commercial deluxe where it will include most of the stock art that these were based off of. You'll have access to that through that pledge level as well. So
That that's really cool and interesting for someone that might have, either they want to use the stock art in a product, or maybe they've already used the stock art in a product and now they're like, oh, do you want to have the mini to go with that creature that was in that product that you had bought before?
yes,
That's a
yes.
fantastic idea.
And what's also really cool, I talked about how I want to be a help and a blessing to independent publishers, and so the publishers who've hired me to do some of these illustrations will finally get to see their idea come to life in a 3D form. And I didn't get to talk about this particular portion, but I talked about how a lot of the companies in our community, in our industry, are mom and pop shops, and I love working at that level because, say if I go and while working for an established, highly established company is fun. There's the beholder's already been established, the owlbear's already been established, and it'd be cool. It is cool to create my own versions of those. But those companies aren't going to use, for the most part, they're going to have, this is what they look like. But when I work with independent publishers, I get to bring things to life almost for the very first time. And so now some of those ideas are going to come to life in a 3D form that they never would have had that opportunity or even felt like they had the budget to use in their products.
I
So
see you like shark people.
yes, maybe. You can never go wrong with sharks. And I don't know, did I give you the link to, I know I gave you the link to the backer kit. Did I give you the link to the actual Kickstarter page itself?
Not the preview link, the sign up.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so yeah, that's what I
let's
was
fix
saying. Like
that.
I put the link to the backer kit in there so people can kind of see some of the stuff that you've done, and also the I don't know, what are you calling the displacer esque creature? Because I know you said it was initially one monster, but it kind of morphed.
Okay, so originally it was a displacer dragon.
Yeah,
Um, and
which
I
is just
usually
mean, by the way.
yes, because when you're playing against a regular displacer, at least for the most part it's going to be on a 2D plane of where he might be. But now with a displacer dragon, it's 3D space.
Yeah,
Did you get that link, by the way?
I did.
Cool. What did I call that? Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. When you make stock, you have to be kind of very generic.
Yeah,
And so especially with the way I've set up my stock art site at jeshields.com, I have to give them, I try and include a bunch of different terms for those monsters, just so that some of those words show up if you do a word search on my site. And so sometimes they wind up with really weird, unique names, like my rust monster, which I'll give you a link to. I've only shared that one other place. We do have a 3D monster, but for like the rust monster, I had to wind up calling it a creepy rust eater monster with long antenna and tongue or something like that. Let me see. Let me see what I called the displacer beast.
Well, on the Kickstarter page, it's called a feral displacer.
There we go. That's, yeah. So I wound up calling it something different just for on my site, just for unique things. But yeah, that's what I called it on the site. So.
Why is this thing? Why is there a turtle dove?
Oh, okay. So remember how I said that I have my Patreon, and then I a lot of other crowdfunded projects, and I'm trying to meet in the middle where a pure commission versus stock, what's already available. Well, that turtle dove I was doing a countdown last Christmas of I like to try and do the 12 days of Christmas. Actually, no, it was the first time I did 12 days of Christmas where I did 12 illustrations of something, or maybe I counted it down the other way. No, one illustration, and then wind up with like 12 of something. And on the second day, someone said turtle doves, and so I drew turtle doves for for a patron. So that's why they're on there. And the artist liked that creature idea. As a stock artist, and I didn't talk about this, but it's as a stock artist, yeah,
Is your
in a weird
Kickstarter
place.
in both English and Portuguese?
It is. It is.
I don't think I've seen that before.
Well, the artist is Portuguese, and he speaks English as well. But I figured, if he's going to be sharing that with Portuguese friends, why not do both? And so this will be the first time I've done a bilingual Kickstarter, but that's there. But I was saying that I live in a weird space where I create something and make it available as stock art, but now it's available almost for as far as I can look to in the future. But I have stuff I created 8 years ago that's nowhere near where I am artistically right now, but some people still love it, and I'm like, I wish that wasn't still there. But if I could erase that.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, what we do isn't really comparable to you as an illustrator, but like our old videos, you look at them and you're like, oh, this is awful on so many different levels.
But I'm sure someone still comes on and is like, hey, this is awesome, this is what I needed, or it speaks to them very specifically. And so that's where I'm at with, okay, if it still helps you, if it's something, if none of my newer stuff is what is a fit for you, and that helps, then cool, awesome.
Is there a monster you're most looking forward to seeing 3D printed?
Yes. Let me see if I can't.
So
okay. So I got two. It'd be a close tie, but I think I'm gonna. Oh, I forgot I can share my screen. If you want, I'll give it to you. And if you want to share it, you can.
Yeah, well, I haven't been, only because I'm not that proficient with OBS. Otherwise, I would share them, but it'll just like screw everything.
Would it help you if I shared it then?
Nah, it'll still screw things. Well, you know what? If you share your screen, it will definitely just screw everything up because it'll be the whole window, and it's like there's an overlay. So
okay. All right.
Yeah,
so then
I should learn how to do that someday to figure out how to.
So let me see if I can't. Okay, so I got to go find it.
Is it one of the ones that you have on the Kickstarter page that are?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
That are locked.
I have. Yes. I got that whole graphic of things, and I don't think he chose it as one of the exclusives. No, it's not one of the exclusives. Though I've already seen one of those. I'm going to share one of those with you that only a few other people have seen. Both the 3D. So one of those 5, or actually one of those 4, because one of them's already been created. But one of those 4 have already been created, and I'll share it with you in just a second. But let me see. There is a fungal spider. There it is. Okay, on the left column, probably about 10, 12 down.
Oh yeah, I see. It's on my screen right now. So folks, basically it looks like a big tarantula with mushrooms growing off its back.
Yeah. That's one I would love to see. But
how many different shark folk do you have? I think I've seen at least 3. There's a hammerhead one, more of a, I don't know what you call one's definitely a hammerhead, and then there's one that looks a little bit more like is one of the, I think is one of the main ones that you can actually see, folks, if you go to the backer kit page.
Yeah.
And then I think I saw another one as well. That looks like the deep aquatic one you have, but is what it's called on this page. But it looks a little more buff.
Yeah, so that's that buff one is my favorite shark, and he was originally going to do that one, but I think that I'm not sure why he switched over to.
I actually like the hammerhead one because he's got a Buddha belly.
Yeah.
I appreciate you showing some love to the big guys out there.
I think that we've got all sorts of different what's the word I'm looking for? We've got all sorts of different
so the big guy kind of looks like maybe like a great white to me.
Yes,
some mutation most going on there.
Yeah. But there's so much in the world to draw influence and reference from, so many different cultures, so many different body types. I like to try and explore. I recognize that there's already there's already a mental thing that happens for artists where they draw what comes natural to them, and so I try and break outside of those tropes. I still fall into it myself sometimes, but there's so much you can explore that it becomes visually interesting, and that's one of the things that I find fun to do with clients when they come to me with an idea. Like one of my favorite, and I mentioned this one a lot on interviews, Mickey Barfield for the Polyhedral Knights. We had established a relationship where he could give me basically a single one line, and then I could take it and it becomes something even more than what he was expecting, where I break outside of the already established tropes. Like he wanted a creepy child, and he said, "So a creepy child with glowing eyes and a knife." And I thought, okay, don't we see that all the time already?
Yeah.
So what I came back with was this creepy, this girl, innocent enough to look at first, but she's holding a hole puncher that is dripping with blood, and it looks like she's got like a little choker necklace. When you take do a double take, you can see the teeth underneath her neck, of where, okay, this is where the actual creature is, and this is just the facade. And so no glowing eyes or anything, and I like stepping outside of what's expected. And so that's what you can also do with by using other influences, other body types, other cultures. I did what was it? There's another one, a diplomat, a human diplomat he wanted me to do, and I wound up making him Indian, as in from India, with the whole turban and sword and flintlock and all that stuff. And it was what he loved it, and it's what and the same, I did that for a bard as well, where it became an African rock bard instead of just your typical old
European, Western European,
yes,
fantasy tropey bard. Yeah. you can
Go
definitely
ahead. Go
get
ahead.
interesting things from doing that as well. Even like we got like halfway through our out of the box encounters project, and I was like, if this needs more female monsters, right? Presenting
Mm,
monsters, um, that aren't just like your stereotypical like this is a hag or a siren or a succubus.
right.
And
Right.
and, and sometimes like I think like as creators, like we unintentionally get like start pigeonholing holding the work we do just because we're looking at it through the lens of us. And you have to take a
Right.
step back and think about like, okay, what about other people?
Well, the thing with and even like with monsters, it's so easy to make them generic.
Yeah.
Uh, where like for a lot of animals, you can look at them and you're not necessarily sure, is that male or female, and so it's easy to kind of go, uh, gender neutral. But to be purposeful about saying, hey, okay, this is not, this is a female of the species. You have to make some intentional decisions for it to be portrayed as that. Um, so yeah, I think that is an area that needs more attention. Like, okay, is this a is this a parent, or also different things, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I said I was gonna show you an illustration of one of the 5 that you could unlock, and now I'm thinking about what could I have done to make this very much a mother figure. Now this is a creature that gets used a lot in D&D. It's a favorite of many, but or maybe people love it to hate it. But here is the 3D version, and then you'll instantly be able to recognize which of those 4 I got unlocked. Um,
Okay, so first I'm seeing the rust monster. Although this rust monster is really cool because it has giant tusks.
yeah, and that's actually an interesting portion of where I am at in this relationship, where when someone comes to me, I have to take their ideas and interpret them and bring them to life. And now
Yeah.
here's someone who's taking my illustration, my ideas of possibly someone else's ideas, and bringing them to life in a 3D space and making some decisions. And so initially, like you can see on the Kickstarter page, um, initially those were meant to be the antenna. I had like super long antenna, but I could see how they could also be interpreted as tusks, or maybe both, sensory and defensive. And then because he's having to make decisions for a product that's going to be 3D printed. Well, 3D prints don't like long, thin things, and so he had to shorten them up. And they're still they are still very long, but they're not as long as they are in the illustration, and they wind up looking that way. And even like if you kind of focus on the face some, you'll notice he included nostrils. And then I go back and okay, when I look at the illustration, oh, is that what he interpreted some of these little lines to be?
Uh-huh.
Uh, and that's where I'm at in this space, and realizing that kind of I'm now on the other end of where I'm normally the artist bringing someone else's ideas to life, and I can be super picky and be like, oh no, you got to fix all these things, but I've been there where I've been the artist, been asked for all these different revisions, and I can live with a rust monster with nostrils, and so I'm not gonna be that picky to ask for
Yeah, I
all
was gonna
these.
say that that's what I immediately thought of when you started telling that story is like, as a creator, it's for us, it's like always a lot of fun to see, someone, bring your work to life, but you know, but now you're on the other side of that, which you normally aren't. And
Yeah.
to me, that's a lot of fun is just seeing like someone else's interpretation.
Yeah, and getting to geek out a little bit about someone bringing your thing to life. I've never commissioned someone to create something for me, and so now someone is creating something of mine that I'm like, this is cool, and now
Yeah.
I get to share it with others too. So,
So I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Seaman.
how
Um,
do you spell his last name?
um,
Oh, I'll put you on the spot.
Seaman, I believe. I think it's just spelled
Okay,
the way it is.
okay,
But he's done a
no,
lot of
no.
like D&D art, and I think he's done magic. I don't know if you've seen the cameo creeps.
I can't
is
say I
his
have.
thing as well. But like I remember like running into him at a convention, and he had just picked up the Goblin Hucker. I don't know if you're familiar that with that piece of art from 5e, but it's like an ogre with a catapult on its back that it launches goblins from into a donut. And like he came over with the mini, and he's like, "Hey, look what I just found. Like I drew this, and they turned it into a
uh,
mini."
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so I guess that is like where like an illustrator can start seeing like their stuff being brought to life in a different way.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and you know and I guess the idea is like having one of your ideas become tangible
Right.
is super cool, and that's what like illustrators and artists do for us as creators.
For me, what I love is yeah. So there are different levels of the excitement that come. One is when you initially take someone's idea and create it, and now it's something that they're bringing to life in a story, in a creature, in a stat block or whatever. But then the excitement when I don't know that I've had it come back. I could be wrong. I don't specifically have it, but I'm looking forward to when players come back and say and talk about their encounter with this thing uh, that you helped to create, and suddenly it's becoming like I view role playing games as personalized movies. You have this role. No one's ever gonna get to watch this movie with you for the most part, unless you're like on Critical Role, I suppose.
Yeah.
Uh, but this is like a personalized movie, and so now suddenly your ideas and your creatures and your characters are becoming a part of other people's worlds and their stories and their encounters, and so that's some of the fun stuff of getting to be part of the creation of things.
Have you done any like Twitch streaming, live
I
draws?
I have I do have a stream. I moved to Alaska, and I paused on that for a while, came back, and then I think my schedule just got, oh yeah, I got really busy with homeschooling my kids, and so I couldn't. We moved stuff around the house, and didn't feel free enough to be able to get back to it, and so I'm looking forward to when I can do that again. But yeah, I've done some of that. In fact, I had a one of the things that I would use that we talked about this earlier about proving how long it's taken you to do a specific illustration.
Yeah.
um, um, but I would use that as my kind of my punching my clock in on the day, and so that I knew how long I've been working in that particular day. Because when you're self-employed, you're trying to have a good work-life balance where you're working 40 hours a week, but it can easily creep into 50, 60 hours. Or if you allow things to interrupt too much, you're suddenly doing a 6-hour day or a 5-hour day when it was supposed to be an 8-hour day. And so I would use that. And one of the things I would do was I would challenge myself. Okay, I normally get this stage done within a certain time frame, and so here's my challenge. And so if I'm going to try and get this done I'm going to try and get this sketch done within 20 minutes. And if I succeed, I get a point. But if I don't, then y'all win and y'all get a point. And what I would do is let that accrue. And once they get a certain number of points, I would do a community illustration based on their ideas and their input. And so more of that whole giving back and creating stuff for other people. So
There's moose in Alaska, right?
yes, there are.
You run into any yet? Not
Not
physically, just seen them.
I'm about to say, yeah, not physically. Well, yeah, we've had we had a moose eaten on the trees outside of our townhouse, and I follow. I knew that there was a moose creeping around while my I shouldn't say creeping. They don't creep. Uh, they meander. They do what they want, and I knew that there was one. And my kids were out biking, and I want to know, okay, where did it go?
Yeah.
So that they don't that they don't go and mess with it, or it interpret their actions as something hostile. And so he was just had parked up in someone's lawn and laid down for a while. And so like, okay, that's where they're at. And so yeah, we've encountered that. I've seen bear at at a stream while everybody else is fishing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Okay, y'all do your fishing thing while he's down there, and I'm gonna watch from the bridge.
I know you have some bear monsters. Do you have any moose monsters?
I have, let me think. I don't have a moose monster. I do have a an elven style creature with moose antlers. It was a character portrait, again, one of those things that a patron had suggested. Most of my unique stuff are patron ideas, and so I get to draw cool stuff that I don't get to normally bring to life. I was trying to think if I had any other moose type thing, but I don't think I do. I think it'd be cool to do a moose centaur style.
Are they a giant? Are you gonna make them a giant?
That would actually be awesome. I think that I would want to incorporate the moose antlers. The moose body is hard to emphasize. Hey, this is a moose.
Yeah.
Once you get past, 'cause it's really the
Deer,
front.
elk, they all kind of look very similar in their body style.
Yeah. But I do have a. You mentioned bear creatures. Did I have the bugbear on the uncommon monstrosities? I thought I did. In that whole
Moose
that
tar.
grid.
Park says it's called a moose tar.
Oh, is that what I? Oh, a moose tar. Yes. Yeah, I should. Not,
I've also heard them referred to as Canadian kaiju, which I love.
Yes, that
I
would
mean,
be
have you ever seen the image of the diver with the moose?
the diver.
Yeah, because apparently moose dive for the kelp and eat it, and they've
I
also have found moose in the stomachs of orca.
really,
So,
I have not. That is,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to
land
look
or
that
sea,
up.
you're not safe from a moose. Apparently, they're not like great swimmers though, so you might be better off
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah. So, also, I hinted at it with what I like to do with my crowdfunded stuff, and it's gonna come out in the Kickstarter. Whenever I do stock art crowdfunding projects, I always allow people to submit ideas for what they want me to illustrate, and in that grid of illustrations, I have a whole bunch of question marks, but I also have a whole
Okay.
bunch of things that are things that can unlock as we begin. I hope for the 20 initial monsters to allow backers to submit which of the things that they want to see illustrated. Sorry, not illustrated, which of the illustrations they want to see modeled.
Yeah.
Since we already have a whole grid, let them vote instead of just saying, "Hey, we think people are going to like this," but rather let them say, "Okay, we want to see this modeled." Now, our 3D artist has already been hard at work to bring some things to life, as you've seen the rust monster, you've seen the brain devourer. We also have the beholder, the not beholder. I forgot what I called it, and the displacer beast creature, and then the hammerhead, and the deep aquatic. Those have already been created, as well as the turtle dove. But I want others, I want the backers, their idea, that what they want to see come to the table, come to life. And as we unlock stretch goals, that will definitely be a part of what gets created next. They get to say, okay, we unlocked another one. All right, now which ones do y'all want to see? And so that's what that whole grid is. And I've got more art than what's up on there. And that's what all those question marks are for, is that I kind of ran out of, okay, what else is, which other things do I think would be cool? And so there's that aspect of, I still want to put things into other people's hands.
So you're saying there's still room for the moose tar?
If I create a moose tar, now that that idea is in my head, that could certainly be something that winds up on there. Dionisio, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He never corrected me. Is our artist, and he he's been bugging me for a Terrask or an homage to Terrask. And so
Oh, I was
that
wondering about like how big, like if there was a size limit that they're working, because the Kickstarter is for the files, right? It's not for the actual minis.
right, right. Most all my Kickstarter crowdfunded projects have been for digital files, and especially in the age that we're at right now, we're delivering a physical product has so many variables. I want to be able to deliver what I know I can deliver. Eventually, I'm gonna step into physical stuff, but I'd
Now's not the
rather.
time.
Right. Yeah, especially now it's not the time. So yes, it is for the
It'll get here fine. It just might sit in the ocean for a while.
yes. And one of the things that I'm learning as a creator, and what I would say is probably the best professional advice that I have learned, or I could offer, is make other people successful. That's what I've been trying to do for independent publishers. And then Dionisio came along, and I could have just said yes and let him do whatever he wanted to. But in order to make him successful, this project needs to come through. I don't want him if I can make him successful, then that's gonna be helpful to him, to me, and so I would not be against someone else who specializes in the delivery of 3D products to
Yeah.
come along and partner with them to take on that side of things. But that would be probably for a future. Well, I'd say would be for a future project. So
There's a company called Shapeways, where they even have like a marketplace for stuff. So like if you have files and stuff, you can actually go there and open up like a shop through them, and then like they also print the minis for Hero Forge and maybe some of the other big companies as well. But they have like a huge like industrial factory, I believe, in New York where it just like prints stuff.
yeah. So I wonder. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning. I was aware of Shapeways, but I had never looked into the idea of doing delivery through them, where and that could be well, I suppose the delivery prices are going to be different, so that's still a big variable.
Yeah, oh
So
yeah, for sure. I just
okay,
know that
yeah,
it's a thing.
yeah.
Like I think I got I actually I know I got
Oh
this
yeah.
metal die
Uh-huh.
D20. I love it, but it's like almost impossible to read with
Yeah.
depend like if you don't have like really good lighting, for me anyway, my old eyes. But it
No,
looks
yeah, I understand.
fantastic, rolls great, but then it causes me to do a lot of squinting when I use it.
Yeah, yeah. But I wonder if there's a way we could make those available for those who want to have them printed
Yeah.
and just pay for that service. Um, and then that way they could back it and then just deal with the printing and delivery on their end without having to go and also buy. Hmm.
I
Give me
believe there's
ideas.
probably a way to find out. So
Yes, yes. Okay.
we're gonna leave with more questions than we have answered. But
Well, I
no, that
appreciate the
no, that would
feedback.
definitely be cool for some people because some people aren't 3D printers. They don't have access to a 3D printer, but maybe they like the designs and they want the things. Um,
Yeah.
like I know I'm surprised Ted hasn't bought a 3D printer yet, to be honest with you. But I know he's always hitting up different people that we know. Hey, can you print this?
Yeah, I'm in that boat. My dad has a 3D printer,
uh,
and I've done projects with him where we created the 1980s Aliens board game, um, and printed that out together. But I don't have my own personal one, so
oh wow.
uh, so that
It's
would be
also a
something.
whole thing. Like it's a rabbit hole. I feel like if you go down, you may never come out of. Um,
Yes.
there's that as well. We for a little while we had been working with someone that was doing a lot of 3D printing, and they had like 13 printers going at their house at any given time. was like, dude, you're gonna burn down your house. I'm sure of it. And actually,
Yeah,
I think one of the other guys that I know that was doing a bunch of 3D printing did have a house fire because of it.
I know I've heard of it. I think that someone I've heard yeah, so that's a concern, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
Parks, I think we need to bring on a 3D printing person to answer that question. I wants to know
yeah,
how feasible would it be to design and 3D print LARP weapons. Like, I'm sure you can do it because they 3D print houses, right? So,
right, right.
I mean, I also don't they like aren't they like trying to develop 3D printing like organs and stuff too? So, e-
Yes, yes,
eventually, so LARP weapons seems really low on the difficulty scale in comparison. So you can probably find that.
yeah.
There's probably somebody doing it right now. so,
Yeah.
so what is your game of choice? What games are you into?
Game of choice. So we did get to that part, and before the show, I talked about what I was running, but
Yeah,
my
yeah.
my personal game of choice, if and now that it's different between what I would run versus what I would play. What I would, if I had game of choice, hands down, Rifts for what I would play.
Okay.
Absolutely love that
Oh,
world.
you really did come here from Juice.
Absolutely love the world. I haven't bought into Savage Worlds, and I don't vouch for the game system, the original game system. Actually, I don't vouch for either one of those game systems. But I absolutely love that world. That is the world I got into as a teenager. It
Yeah.
is the artwork in there, that's responsible for inspiring me to become an artist for this community. And so, yes, hands down. And I know it gets a bad rap for being gonzo, but I don't view it as gonzo, because of how I was introduced to the world. It all makes sense. Gonzo for me is this doesn't make sense together, but all of it makes sense of what has happened to create this type of world where you could have a mutant chihuahua, piloting a mecha armor. It all makes sense. So I realized me saying that now, like, that does not go together. But but it,
I guess like to me, like Palladium embodies all the worst parts of 80s RPGs to me. Um, and I know some people just love that stuff and like love all the tables and the because it seems like in the 80s it's like your RPG was judged on like how many charts and tables you can stuff into it.
yeah.
And then it was like also I guess like we went back and played Heroes Unlimited and we're like making characters for that and I was just like the difference between characters was so vast. I'm like you could literally be playing, the pool boy or, Superman. So,
Yes, and one of the things Kevin Sabita has said, especially with Rifts, is that the world is not balanced. That like one of the most famous group in the Rifts world is, one's this beefy fighter, and the other one is just a rogue scholar.
yeah.
And they go on, and that's you wind up seeing that in movies where there is an unbalance of things, but the life is just unbalanced. And so he's never tried to make a quote unquote balanced system, which I think
Yeah.
has led to some of the problems. But
Yeah.
um,
It
again,
all depends what your fun is too, right? Like,
right. And
you know,
I loved rolling randomly for some of the things you wind up with in that world. But I agree that there are some of the things that I'm like, we don't really need all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of flavor text in there that I know is what inspired our game master to run stories and stuff like that. But there's a lot that I didn't pay attention to. But again, it's the world that I love, not necessarily the books or
yeah.
the system behind it. But that's what I would love if I get a chance to play it. I would play that in a heartbeat. The problem though is it would take me a full day to create a character. And so yes, all the negative things of the 80s, is
Yeah.
there, because you have so many options.
There was a
But
time when that was a lot of fun, but like now, Like, we're old, we got kids, we got responsibilities. We had time to spend 4 hours building a character.
Yeah, like one of my goals for my own personal mechanic, my own personal system is if I can't create a character um uh at the table at a convention, then my character process is too long. And so that's my personal goal, and that's what I like to see in systems where they are unique and there are lots of options, but I don't want to spend more than 30 minutes to create a character.
And
Ideally 15 to 20.
I think that's a great mentality because it's games like that they're going to really help facilitate new players coming and playing.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to, like, I remember, we'd get like not a new player but a new person to our table that would show up. Be like, "Oh, I want to play D&D with you guys." And like if they showed up without a character, they'd be like, "Here's a stack of books. Go over in the corner. See you in 2 hours, right? And then you can have fun with
Right.
us." So
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like when I go to a convention, if your game doesn't allow me to create a character at the table, it gets second slot for what I choose. I want to create my own character. I don't like being handed a character. It doesn't feel personalized. I don't mind starting with a sheet, a template to work from, but if you've made all the decisions for me, it's like I'm really playing your character in your world versus my character in your world. But as far as what game would I my go-to game to run, I would probably say the classic Marvel.
Phase Rip.
Yep.
Yeah. We did 2 seasons on our channel, on our other channel, of that. So I believe 24 episodes.
Wow, really?
We played all original characters. We didn't use pre-gens.
Mhm.
And I think it was the Hudson Heights Heroes. I think that's a neighborhood in New York.
Did you okay? So when you play Marvel, the classic one, there are some things that get house ruled out, and that or that some people do play specifically by. But I know that the rules as written say that you're supposed to make your decisions before you actually take your turn. Is that something that y'all did, or was it did y'all house
I
rule
don't
that
think we
part
did.
out?
I definitely don't think we did that. I don't even remember that particular rule, to be honest with you. Like I basically remembered how the system worked, but I didn't go back and reread. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love the simplicity. You got one chart to rule them all,
Yeah.
and you work from that. In fact, the current iteration of my system is using a little bit of that concept, but
It was also ahead of its time, like as far as like having an expendable resource. Your karma pool was your experience points, but it was also your
oh yeah,
ability to affect the narrative and the story.
yeah,
And you could lose experience, like from doing bad things or not succeeding. Um,
yes, yeah. It was definitely set up to encourage you to be a hero.
and
Uh,
also, like, popularity was a much better kind of like morality system
mm,
than alignment ever was or ever will be.
right, yeah, agreed.
So yeah. So I played Mosh Pit, which was like a self-replicating character.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah.
Was that what was that his only ability?
Yeah, that was his only ability, but like the GM was very generous in the ways that I could use it. Um, so like sometimes like I would replicate some things that someone might do from like a speedster might do. Like if someone was there, I might have like a bunch of myself like burst out of me and like pummel someone and then shoot back in, or
Oh,
like
nice.
or like one of the moves that he did. I think I called it like the freight train or something, where he would just like keep duplicating in front of himself and then sucking the other duplicate back in, so he just moved them forward really fast.
Oh, cool. I love that. That was like the group that I played with, they played so much that they basically tried to think of all the different possible power stunts
Yeah.
for the established for the major powers that are out there, where you wind up with telekinesis giving you pyrokinesis because it's just, heat is just the movement of particles, and
Yeah.
obviously limiting those to certain ranks. You have to have a certain high enough to be able to do some of them, but I'd never seen anybody use the duplication power to give them super speed or a power punch, or I could even see that giving you leaping. Where you just pile, the more
Oh,
play
that
them
was definitely
underneath
some
you.
of the moves I did where we'd like two of us would throw another one up, and like we weaponized ourselves often.
Nice, nice, love that.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun game. It is it is probably my second favorite superhero game, but it really vies for the first position, really close. I really enjoy Mutants and Masterminds, but that's also a very very crunchy game
Yes.
for creating your character. Once your character's done, it's not bad at all. And the third iteration of the game really came a long way from the first and the second, and you can really see like the homage to the phase rip system in that game.
Hmm. The original, the Facer, did set itself up well for miniatures, or tried to. Is that something that y'all incorporated?
No, because we were playing online.
Right, but you can have, your tabletop.
Yeah, that's true. We did theater of mind. Most of we are so untechy and old. Everything we do when we play virtually, like almost all of our games um are theater of the mind. Like so many virtual tabletop companies are always trying to get us to like to promote them, and I'm like, but we don't. It's like I think they're great, and I played using plenty of them, but
Hmm.
as a GM and our groups, we just don't care about that much.
Yes. Yeah. And I talked about earlier how I'm not threatened by other freelance artists and their rates, and their existence or anything like that. And so
Yeah.
I'm of the same mentality. Like, I don't use miniatures. I shouldn't say I don't. I
Yeah.
like miniatures. I like seeing their existence. But I'm a theater of the mind type of guy. But I know that there are plenty of people out there that they love the miniatures, and why not make them available? Why not
Yeah.
allow them to have them? And so I don't want it to be like, well, I don't use them, so I'm not going to create them. But
So
equally, I have used them, but my preferred one is Theater of the Mind.
so in our home game, like Ted runs using minis um and terrain and stuff, but he likes do like that's a hobby of his. He likes doing that stuff.
Hmm.
And so when we because of COVID, our group went virtual, and we started off theater of the mind, but then he started setting up a third or a second camera, and then he would like set up the scenes and pull out his minis and the terrain and just turn that camera on, when something was going on using that stuff.
Hmm.
And then you have us on the other end, like morons, pointing at the screen, going, "Put me here!" Like, oh, you can't see
Yeah,
me.
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So like we've done stuff like that. But not like the few stream games we do, they're always like theater of the mind, and like I've incorporated like from when we went virtual, so now like I might have an extra screen at the table that I use to just show things or show a map or something like that, but
Hmm.
it's still more theater of the mind than it is minis and terrain for me. So it's like, but that's the thing about the game, there's like so many different ways to enjoy it.
That I'm in a weird space as far as RPGs go, that I recognize the stories for me, they come alive most in the mind, but I'm also a tactical guy,
Yeah.
where I want to, if we're trying to win a particular battle, well, it makes sense to be able to know where these people are. Okay, these people are lined up here, and without that grid, without that tabletop, some of that kind of gets lost in the middle, and in the translation of what the game master is imagining in his head versus what the players are imagining in theirs. And so I see both, and I think it'd be awesome to be able to find the right blend between the two. And I don't know if there really is one.
Yeah. Well, when I see someone that's really like, there used to be a streamer called uh, Timmy TV. I don't know if he still has his channel or not over on Twitch, but he would run games, and he was like a fantastic dungeon master. And he was pretty early to the space when he was running, using I think he was using Roll 20, and he would use a soundboard and everything. And like when you see someone who does it really well, they are like a conductor of an orchestra.
Mm,
That's not me, because also I've seen many people where they're like fumbling through trying to find things, and it just like it creates this extra stuff that you kind of have to worry about. And I think if you're not really great at doing it, it takes away from the game rather than adding to it. And also,
yeah.
one of the few games on our channel that we did run that was streamed and used the VTT, I was kind of like had one of those oh f that moments, and it was like a mix of older people and younger people playing the game, and we were in a room, and the GM was like, "What do you want to do?" And everyone grabbed their token and went in a completely different direction, as if it was like a game board or something, right? And I just had this like, "Oh no, no, thank you" moment when I saw that. It was
Wow.
like pure chaos. Like that's like one of the things about running RPGs and being the DM is like you had this ability to kind of control things to an extent where I saw that control just vanish and vaporize instantly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
additionally, when you've got all the terrain already set up and set out, you have that difficulty of, well, the players kind of expect, well, this is what we have to do. This
Yeah.
is the direction this is definitely going. And so I like it when a tabletop has multiple options, where it's not, you know, when you don't necessarily have to be, pigeonholed into a particular decision, or knowing that this is what this adventure is definitely going to be, regardless of whether my character would even step foot this direction. And I recognize that there's a certain part of it that, as a player, you're incorporating into the full enjoyment of the entire table. So trying to figure out how this makes sense for your character, now it can play into some of that. But
Yeah, I mean, most of those DMs claim like it doesn't affect what they do if the players aren't interested. But I just find it really hard to believe when I look at $1,000 worth of dwarven forts set out on the table. But I guess
yeah.
I guess there is like a certain portion of that as well, like as a player, where I would look at that and go, "Oh, I kind of think I really want to go through that as well, just because it does look really cool."
Yes, yes, yeah. Hey, I do want to fight that monster, or hey, I want to tame that thing because I want it as my mount, or
Yeah.
however you want to interact with it. My personal approach to game mastering, is, if you're going to try and create a story, you can either railroad people into the story, or you could be so loose as you don't create any story and let them explore it and explore it together. But I'm kind of in between, where, especially at a convention, where I want to definitely have a beginning, a middle, and an end, so that they feel like they have a completed experience. Where I do more of a, these are the events that I want to happen, but I want them to feel like it's their choice, and it very much can be their choice of which direction they go. But I have it created. I've created enough where I can insert those no matter which direction that they go. Like, I was running a um, a White Star, one shot, and I knew I wanted them to face up against this certain bad guy, and I knew what was going on in the different sectors of the places of space that they could wind up in. But I had reasons for why this particular individual might be at each one of those places, where I'm not ramrodding them into a certain direction and decision that they make. But then I can still insert it into the campaign, and allow it to have a life of its own, and but also let it have a full story effect. So
Yeah, I'm kind of.
having
I
those
think
options.
me and Ted are kind of similar in the way we create our stuff. It's like there's a general idea of what's going on, and maybe some things that happen that the players can then interact with. But mostly, our style is very reactive. Like, what are the players doing? And you're right. Like at a convention, you can't do that. Like you've got 4 hours or 3 hours when you have to from beginning to end that you have to get through so that the players, like you said, have a complete experience.
Yeah, because I've been in those games where it's like, and that's our time. I'm like, what about this thing?
Yeah,
Well, we were building up, and there was all this excitement building towards this thing, and oh, our time's up. Yeah, but so yeah, I agree. I
for
agree.
sure. So we are just past the hour mark. Any final thoughts before we head on out?
Um, I just want to encourage you, if you are an independent publisher or thinking about being an independent publisher, please make use of my stock art at jeshields.com, or hop on board with Patreon. Or if all this miniature stuff it excites you, and you could see you using it in your products, there are the stock art options in our project, and I just want to be able to be a help to those who are creating the space that I enjoy spending my time in.
Cool. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you. As always, folks, in the description you can find the links. Go follow that project and check it out. So far the monsters I've seen look really cool, and also the 3D artist is doing an awesome job of rendering them as well. So go check that out. And until next time, stay nerdy.